Welcome to the Uproot Project Podcast, where we dig deep to uncover and dismantle toxic beliefs about God, ourselves, and each other. Our goal is to replant new insights in the fertile soil of wisdom and love, fostering personal growth and transformation. Join us as we explore new ways of thinking and living in a world of complexity and diversity.
Hello and welcome to Season 2, Episode 1 of the Uproot Project Podcast.
Woo-woo. It's a new season.
You better come on.
All right.
Oh, you okay?
It's
So
a new day.
thank you, brother.
All right, that's good.
So I am Whitney. She, her, bad bitch, and that nigga.
All right. I am Christian. She, her.
No bitches or niggas. Bitchless, nigga-less.
But she's married to a nigga
That.
named Chris.
Come on.
He, him pronouns. Also, that theological nigga.
All right.
Still.
Period. You still gonna be, what is it? What we say?
TTN.
TTN.
Still.
Is it like the TTLA that Auntie Tab was talking about and she popped off on?
I don't know what
Oh,
that is.
Lord.
It's a sandwich from Whole Foods that I can't eat because it's got soy. But even the time I had it, her reaction really sold it for people. I didn't like it that much, but people liked it.
I ain't
You
never
said
heard of
soy sandwich?
TTLA. So
Yeah.
tofu, tomato,
No.
lettuce, and arugula or something with avocado.
I think avocado.
I made it
Tor-
up.
It was
Tula
supposed to be like a what's it called? A BLT?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, is it seitan then?
Yeah, it is. I think
Okay.
It's a TTYL.
Satan.
sandwich?
so. Huh? TTYL. No, but off task. Anyway, y'all, thank you for joining us for Season 2. We're so happy to be back.
Yeah, boy.
In this new year, Happy New Year to you. Hope you all had wonderful holiday season. And I don't actually know which week this is coming out. So this could be at a we coming off a high or oh shit.
Yeah,
Time of
it's
year,
probably
so.
gonna be close to all shittish, but
Yeah.
we gonna be all right.
Period.
Right? Yeah. When, I'm gonna say,
Let's keep the energy
Yeah,
for
keep
later.
it.
You know what? Let's set the energy. How
Let's-
about
let's
that?
do it
Let's
on
go ahead and
purpose.
set the tone and set the energy.
Let's
So
set the atmosphere.
one thing you bet for a blessing, for a mighty move.
for a mighty move of God.
Who is that?
in you.
Who's gonna get it?
Oh, Kurt Carr.
Kirk Carr, that's it.
That's
Is
it.
it you?
The New Nation.
Is
Not
it
New
you?
Nation. That ain't right.
Y'all have to know. We
That's
spent
Kirk.
I don't know how long jamming before
Good 8 to
we
10 minutes.
started recording. So we are
Yeah,
way up
We
right
had our
now.
own little green room section.
We did.
we
We
in a
are
musical
way up
mood.
right now. So we're gonna just take it down a little bit so we can ground ourselves, and we invite you into this mindfulness moment with
Him too.
us. If you are driving, please keep your eyes open and stay alert on the road. But take a few breaths with us. If you are not, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, and we're going to take a few breaths, and we are going to set intention. So go ahead, do a deep inhale. Hold it, and then let it out slowly. Do that again. Deep inhale. Hold it. Let it out slowly. Take a second. Feel where you are in your body. If you're holding anywhere in your body, check your eyebrows, your forehead, check your jaw. Drop your shoulders. Feel the weight of your body in your seat, wherever you're seated. Just feel your body. Let it go. Relax. Whatever was on you before you started listening, just let it go. And I want you all to find an intention for this moment. So set an intention. My intention, I will share, is presence. I would like to be fully present in this moment. So on our next inhale, I'm going to inhale presence, and then I'm going to hold, and then I'm going to release anything that is not aligned with that. And I invite you to do the same thing with your intention. Okay, everyone ready? Deep breath in. Hold. Let it out slow and release anything that's not in alignment. We'll do that one more time. Deep breath in, lock in that intention. Hold it. And release nice and slow. How y'all feeling? All right.
We feel good.
Let's get going.
Nice. So this season, we are going to be talking about vulnerability and how being vulnerable gives us an opportunity to grow and to deepen our relationships, both with each other and with God, and honestly, with ourselves. So we're going to talk a little bit now about what makes it hard for us to be vulnerable. What makes it hard to be vulnerable in general, but more like specifically like with ourselves. What makes it hard to be honest and vulnerable with you?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
I the first word that actually comes to mind for me is like shame. Right? It's shame. And so, because if there's something in me that I can't be honest with myself about, like what's the block there? Right? And it feels like I've made some like judgment about a part of me.
Moralized it.
Yeah, exactly. I've moralized this part of me. Yeah. And so it's if I am judging myself based on whatever standards have been imparted in me, and I think that's also important, right? Like that the judgment of ourselves is not like inherent to ourselves. It's a learned behavior.
Yeah, socialized.
Right. It's a learned narrative. And so if you hiding you from you, which is crazy. Like I hear it. You know, like
done it.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm hearing it when I'm saying it, and I'm like, this is some crazy shit.
But we do.
Yeah, you know, but it's like this is the part I don't like. This is the ugly part. This is the part that like I don't even want to see, let alone let anyone else see.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. So shame. For me, like the first thing that came to mind was fear.
Yeah.
Right. And so that can have some overlap with shame, obviously, but there is a fear of rejection, a fear of, you know, if we go religious with it, a fear of hell and the brimstone and all that. But those are the things that kind of come to mind, a fear of being ostracized or left out or just not being enough. Like all of those fears that crop up about your worth and your abilities and things like that makes it difficult to be honest with yourself. Makes it difficult for me to be honest with myself.
Yeah,
I'll
period.
personalize it.
Right. And I think even for me, what comes up is distrust. I don't.
Yeah.
I have problems. One of the reasons why I don't develop a lot of relationships with people deeply is because I do struggle with trusting people with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, learning to lean or learning to be open. And I find myself, especially when it comes to trying to build friendships with other men, I find myself trying to find what are acceptable ways of communicating myself
Yeah.
to men or other men that would still have them view me as a part of their their group in a way.
Yeah.
It's like I still want to express my feelings or express how I feel about a situation, but I have to package it a certain way so that it is appropriate
Palatable for them.
Yeah.
Because like I'm gonna be me,
Yeah.
but I also don't want them to think I'm weird.
Well, and that's what I was about to ask. So trust is a funny thing, and I'm going slightly off script, but trust is a funny thing, especially when we say we are not trusting other people. Because are we actually not trusting other people, or are we not trusting ourselves to recover from the like backlash from the other person's reaction? Right?
Yeah.
Because like if I actually am solid to myself and I don't care, right? Which is that's hard. We know it's hard to really not give a fuck about anything. It's hard.
Anybody, yeah.
Right. But like, you know, people are just like, oh, I don't trust people. Is it that you don't trust people, or is it that you don't trust your response to their rejection?
Yeah.
You know?
Your ability to rebound or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I don't have anything. It's like this is me, you know. Yeah, and I've gotten to a certain point in some regards that I just be like, well, fuck you. I don't have any.
No, that's that ass. I was like, I've seen you have your very fuck it moments. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm 37. Like I don't have time to. If this is what causes you to, you know, not be friends with me, okay, well,
right.
It is what it is.
Then we're not supposed to be friends.
It is what it is.
We're not aligned.
We're not aligned.
The end.
Right? You know, but I did find in moments where I was real or vulnerable and shared my story that I allowed other men to also be in that space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And be authentic with themselves and share how they feel, even if it was angry, even if it was jumbled up, even if it was misguided narratives. They felt free to share them with me.
Yeah.
And I can be vulnerable and share them with, hey, this is where I am too.
Yeah. I think
Mhm.
that's the beauty of vulnerability. And I know, Christian, we started this talking about like being vulnerable with ourselves, which that's step one, right? Like
Mhm.
to then be vulnerable with others. But the beauty of vulnerability is that like it's a connector,
Yeah.
you know? And so like
Right.
if I can be vulnerable with myself and then show up and take the risks to show up authentically
Mm.
in my mess, right?
Yeah.
And not necessarily, when I say show up in my mess, I don't mean in a way that is like, you know, that completely disregards other people's boundaries or no, you
Sure.
don't get to do that. But
Mhm.
just showing up as me and just being
Your
like,
full
hey,
self,
yeah, this is where I struggle, or like this is just me, right? And allowing
Mhm.
somebody else to be like, hey, one of my good friends does this to me all the time. I have therapist friends who, oddly enough, we didn't know we were therapists when we met. We just met in line at a concert. I said something funny, and then they was in the conversation. Love that. But she'll be like, friend, insert poignant question that is a read. And I'll be like, motherfucker. Like, I didn't come here for the girl. We going hiking. What? You know what? Let me reflect. You know,
Yeah.
and
Right.
it's one of those, right? Like, even if it's something that maybe has escaped my awareness or I haven't put the pieces together, being vulnerable enough to like allow someone to reflect you back to you.
Mm.
Like,
Mhm.
and it's the more that we do that, like the deeper our friendship goes, right?
Yeah.
Because we are able to do that to each other
Right.
and show up honestly. And so when I think about the times that we're in, like, and there's a lot of talk around community building. And as a person who has done community building for a
Mhm.
really long time, like, you are like, in order to be in community, you have to do a lot of inner work first.
You do.
And vulnerability is one of the top ones.
It's a huge component of
It's
that.
a huge
Yeah.
component. Like, you have to be able to see yourself. You have to be able to be seen. And I think for me,
Right.
I would say I'm the resident, like, vulnerability has been a lesson for me for 2024. Lifelong, but 2024 has been very loud and in my face. And I know we actually all struggle with vulnerability. Don't give me the shifty eyes, Christian. I know. I know.
Mightily.
Yeah. And so like
Mightily.
it's been such a thing for me, right? And I think that's been the catalyzing piece. It's like, no, I want to show up fully so I can like truly be present, create, like you were saying, Chris,
Mhm.
those moments where we can connect
Right.
via our humanity.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, and I think that's the whole point, right? Of vulnerability is to grant you the ability to connect,
Mhm.
right? It's very difficult to connect with someone who is constantly guarded
Yeah.
and unwilling to share. What I was reading a book and they were talking about the difference between someone like sharing information
Versus their feeling about
versus
it. Yeah.
the way that they feel about the things that have happened.
Yep.
And so, you know,
Right.
somebody could be like, oh, I tell you about my day. And it's like, no, but you need to tell me how you feel
Yeah.
about what happened during your day. And like, that's the difference between just sharing information and actually being
Transparency versus vulnerability.
There you go.
Vulnerability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah.
That's the
Yeah.
exact thing, right? And so when we're talking about vulnerability this season, it's not just it's like, oh, you need to cry on somebody's shoulder and you need to do this because catharsis. And I mean, yes, catharsis is great,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
getting the emotions out, letting them flow, right? But at the same time, that is how we build community. Like the
Mhm.
shared experience, you got to
Right.
share the experience part, right?
Exactly.
Not just the facts and the numbers. You actually have to share, this is what I'm going through. This is how it's making me feel,
Yeah.
which, you know, that is going to be a theme
It
Yeah.
is.
It's gonna
in
be-
a lot of our lives. But as a large, I'll say American community, right?
I think it's global too.
Global,
Mhm.
but also like individual. Like we're talking about not, you know, just trying to make friends with a stranger so that y'all can do a service project, but like getting in deeper with the people that you care about so that when something really bad goes down, you have somebody to call. Like we talk about this loneliness epidemic that's
Right.
been going on since the pandemic. And it wasn't just about like a lack of proximity, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like for me and Whitney specifically, we were able to stay connected throughout the pandemic, even though we didn't see each other for the better part of like a year and a half.
Yeah.
And that only changed because I had a baby. And so she came around, but I hadn't seen her for the better part of a year and a half in person, you know? And so but we were able to keep that connection because there was still an exchange going on in spite of the lack of proximity. So when you're talking about the loneliness epidemic, it's not just about not being in groups of people. It is very possible to be incredibly lonely and surrounded by people.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have any real connection.
Well,
Right.
yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Chris.
and something you said, Whitney, brought to mind Cat Williams at the
Continue.
beginning of February 2024.
Isn't that long, Jesus?
Yeah.
Yeah, he called this shit at the beginning of
All
the
this
year.
shit he said,
Or beginning of last year.
Right. All lies will be exposed in 2024. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, he's probably more prophetic than he would
That was
like
the
to
energy
think
he
at the
gave.
moment. That was the energy.
Yeah.
All lies will, and then you saw all of 2024. You saw a lot of shit get taken off, and especially in what comes under my purview when I look into the church context. There's a lot of ripping off and uncovering of different pastors and different things, church culture got put on this great display and scrutiny in more ways than I think in previous years.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it does speaks to how religious structures don't always equip us to learn how to deal with the vulnerability or our humanity in ways that allow us to get the help that we need to actually heal.
Yeah.
Because we have this sin consciousness, we either have to act like it doesn't exist or we have to deny something about us that is really just human. But we have to, but because we're in a religious structure, we're not able to get the help we need to be human or the freedom to be human. When you think about even, like, for example, a certain pastor, I'm not going to name names because I don't.
People will figure it out. Keep going.
People figure it out. Certain pastors that are involved in same-sex scandals, when they're married to wives. But I was like, what if he was just allowed to be him? What if he was allowed to be honest with his sexuality in a way that would inform, his that would affirm his humanness and also to give him the help he needs, so that way he didn't have to die in the secrecy.
Yeah.
And now because he's so gifted, he rose to power, and now that power has corrupted his humanity to the degree that he's weaponizing it to oppress others.
Yeah.
And so what could have been checked way back when we could have said, okay, this is an aspect of humanity that we will make room for you to be human.
Yeah.
And we will hold you accountable when you behave in ways that disregard to other people's humanities. Maybe we would have had we would still have a gifted person. Yeah. But we would also have a whole person.
Instead of one who's had to segment themselves.
Yeah, and I think that's what's interesting is this desire to have people compartmentalize themselves.
Oh,
right?
Jesus.
Yeah.
And
because we're because we are taught that part of your calling is to commit to the facade.
Right. But that invalidates who you are. But you have this calling in your totality of being.
Right.
Right. And so
not just on the things that they've decided are appropriate.
Exactly. And it's really interesting to me because then it's what are we saying about God, right? What are we saying about how God creates?
Right.
If we're saying, oh, all of you is acceptable except these parts. No. God made you, but not these parts.
Right.
That's
These
very
are the bad parts.
That's very odd behavior.
It's
That's
very odd behavior.
yeah. But then you want people to bring it all to the altar.
But that's not safe.
And that's what I think, my brain
at least they don't have a safe response to it.
No.
Well, which makes it not safe.
Right.
And to be honest, the response is not only not safe, it can often be violent in one way or another.
Yeah.
And for men, it can be physically violent. For trans women, it can be physically violent, right?
Yes.
But even if it's not physically, verbally violent, emotionally violent, it's a violent response.
Violent, yanking away your ability to make money
Exactly.
because you don't fit a specific, narrative. Or
exactly. Right. And so I think, and so even as we talk about vulnerability, I think we should add the framing that everybody doesn't deserve your vulnerability,
They
right?
gave
The
Nadia
idea,
all access pass.
yeah, the idea
Right.
is that you get to use your discernment
Mm.
over like who you actually would like to connect with, because everybody ain't your people. Like
Right.
Well,
at the end of the day, everybody is not your people. And listen, y'all, I watched the Megan Thee Stallion documentary. Did y'all watch that?
I haven't
No, I
watched
have
it.
It's
not
on
yet.
Amazon. It's actually good. And I say
Okay.
actually, I love Meg. I'm a little old for her music sometimes, but sometimes it really gets you right. But the documentary the documentary was great. And one of the things as she's talking about her father who passed when she was younger, she says he used to say, everything that grin ain't your friend.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that applies
good,
here,
yeah.
right? So everything that grin ain't your friend, like, see what's resonant with the energy and then decide from there. Like oftentimes, especially as
Right.
Black people in workspaces that are not predominantly Black, or workspaces that are predominantly Black, but whiteness is pervasive.
Come on.
So the supremacy still exists
It's
within.
just being perpetuated
yeah.
by the brown people.
Exactly,
Jesus
because
Christ.
internalized. But like, work isn't always your best place to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Unless you feel like it is. And if that's it, go off, sis. Like, we love that
Right.
you have a supportive environment. But like, that's not always for you, right? Like
Yeah.
you
Right.
have to figure out and rightly divide who you really want to connect with, who is worth connecting with
Who's
on that.
trustworthy.
Who's trustworthy, right? Like who are these
Right.
people that are also going to show up vulnerable in community with you?
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
that, I will tell you, that's the thing. Like, if I'm showing up, because I've been on a mission, you
Yep,
know?
absolutely.
And so if I'm showing up vulnerably
Hey, you,
and it don't inspire vulnerability in you,
that's all right.
then that
but
feels like a
means-
disconnect, right?
Yeah.
Like, we have a disconnect.
Right.
So either we discuss this disconnect, because maybe you're just going through your own journey with vulnerability and it's just hard
Sure.
and you're trustworthy
Valid.
and all those things. And that's okay. But maybe it's also like, you not cool with you yet, right? And the
Right.
people that's not cool with them, they do weird shit with you.
Yeah.
You know?
They're
It
not-
manifests
yeah,
externally.
Right.
Exactly.
If they're not integrated within themselves, they will definitely break you.
Exactly.
They have the
They have
yes,
yes.
they have the
They will
ability.
take action in that direction, right? Whether it
Right.
actually impacts you in that way is a different
Yeah.
Right.
conversation.
Right.
They can,
Right.
Yeah. And so it's like you have to use your judgment
Absolutely.
to determine who is actually worth. And I think that's also true for being in community. So like, for context, I co-run an organization, and I'm not going to say too much about it because we're restructuring and I don't want to be wrong by the time January rolls around. But I have run it for a few years, but we do a lot of work in communities, right?
Mhm.
And even before this, like, a lot of my professional experience outside of mental health is in like working with building communities around particular topics or whatever. And in order to show up in these communities, like, it's got to be two-way.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got to be two-way, right? Like, I can't come in as the like, I got it all together, right?
Mhm.
And there are some people that like on paper fit in your community,
Mm.
but they're not willing or ready to do the actual work to be a valid community member. So
Right.
like, having community compacts and community like contracts,
Mm-hmm.
that is useful, because it's like, these are our standard of operations.
Right.
Right? This is how we show up in love and in care and in all these things
Right.
for one another. And if you cannot abide,
Yeah.
then you don't get to participate in this community. Now, granted,
Not
there's
fully,
there's
yeah.
steps between, start
Not
and
fully,
finish.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Listen, I'm a hardballer. Like, if we have steps for like reconciliation and like, how do we repair?
Oh,
If
sure.
you're not willing to do those things,
Yeah.
you will not be in this community, because that is how we are all showing up. You are now a risk. You are the danger.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that's
Yeah.
in the wake of the election, that was something that kept getting said. I'm on Bookstagram, so, which is Instagram but bookish. And
Wait,
one of the things,
it's just the algorithm, right? It's not is it its own
no,
platform?
it's on Instagram.
It's like Black Twitter.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
it's Instagram.
no, but Black. Okay, yes, like Black Twitter.
Yeah,
Got you.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that was getting said a lot, because, I wish all the people who, are on Bookstagram would stop talking about politics, and people like, reading is political. But
Mhm.
yes,
Mhm.
in
Because
addition,
policies are in words.
well, come
The
on.
personal is political.
Everything is
So whether you like politics or not, politics, it impacts you.
it impacts more
Period,
parts
the
of
end.
your life than you'd like to think about, clearly.
All of them.
But but one of the things another thing that came up was the idea that there were a lot of specifically Q plus creators that were
Q
like,
plus being queer plus.
yes,
Okay.
that were making it clear that their page, their comments, their corner of the internet was a safe space, but not for people who were unsafe.
That's right.
And that
That's
clarity,
that's community.
Right.
that clarity of
Yeah.
I cannot allow people who are unsafe to come in and make my safe space no
Literally.
longer safe. That
Exactly.
defeats the purpose. I came here to create a safe space for a group of people. And in the
Right.
name of temperance and, tolerance,
Yep.
I can't let you just come in here and run roughshod over this community.
Yeah.
This
Literally.
community has a basis. And if you are not willing to commit to the tenets
Yeah.
of how we have chosen to deal with each other and interact with each other, then you must go.
You have to go.
Right.
You are not in compliance.
You're,
Right.
you're
It's
not
called
in
the-
compliance.
It's called the tolerance paradox.
Oh yes, I've seen
And
it a
it's
lot.
like, if you
in the last few days.
we can be tolerant, but we're not going to be tolerant of those who are intolerant.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because in order to be in practice tolerance, we have to have some level of boundaries and
That's the word.
and gatekeeping around
You have to be conscious.
What is
of this.
acceptable?
what is
Yeah.
acceptable.
Yeah.
And so, even with I said it even with the tree community early on, I told them, it's like, hey, we are,
Mm-hmm.
but we are not in. We're inclusive in terms of things you cannot control.
Mm-hmm.
Age, sex, and all that stuff, gender and sexuality. We're inclusive of all those things that you can't control. We are exclusive to people who are intolerant of those views and are not
Yeah.
safe. And so, not every opinion gets to be shared here.
Yeah.
They are valid, but they do not necessarily have a voice.
Not here.
That's it.
Not here.
And I think the important.
Damn
Go
sure
ahead.
not a vote.
Okay. And
Not
when I
here.
think that's it,
Yeah.
right? So like even in thinking about that, so I'm in several like random social groups for a variety of reasons, right? And so I was talking to a friend who is also in one of the social groups, and she was like telling me how like why she left.
Mm.
And there was a situation where it like if it had been anybody else, everybody in the group would have been like, what? That's egregious. That's wrong. Why? We can't allow, right?
Mhm.
But like there was a situation with a particular person who I guess has some weight in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't handled. And so she was like, I don't feel safe here. And I'm like, no, your agreements have to apply to everybody. Like
Yeah.
nobody can be exempt. I don't care how long
Nobody
you've been
can be
there.
above the law.
Exactly. I don't care how long. I don't care that you started it. I don't like that's
Don't
not
care.
how it works. You cannot be above correction. And I think that's where vulnerability comes in, right? Because you have to be able to be seen being wrong,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then be able to accept that and make the corrections that you need. Like that's how we grow. Like that's the whole point of us being mirrors for one another,
Right.
right? Like
Yeah.
we all have blind spots within ourselves about ourselves,
Mhm.
and people are going to reflect that back to you.
Absolutely.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah.
and like the idea of having a community where there is one person who the rules don't apply to, like the community is now
That's a cult.
imbalanced, right? It's giving cult,
Yeah.
right? It's an imbalanced community because the idea of community is like commune, togetherness. It is
Mhm.
it is a
Unity.
shared-
we are
it's a-
coming together for
Right.
unity.
Talking about
It's a
common union.
It's a shared
exactly.
burden, right? And if you as leader or
Which is also
Whatever.
a thing to unpack, but yeah.
yeah, but if you as the leader or whatever group of people happens to be the leaders, right,
Yeah.
are no longer subject to the contract, to the social contract we signed to make this community,
Mhm.
this is now a cult. There is now a power imbalance,
Yes.
which
Right.
shifts everything else that's going to go on within the community.
Yeah.
Right. It's very much a cult of personality.
Yep,
Mhm.
absolutely.
We regulate ourselves, but the leader over there is to his own or to their own self.
Or we get to
There's a
bend
law
the
unto
rules
themselves.
we
Yeah.
get to bend the rules.
The rules change,
or they
Right.
change
For the
for a
change.
leader.
right? It's amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy how that works. That usually happens when it's a white man.
You at the very
Yeah.
least you got to have a dick.
Yep.
Yeah. No, I was being very,
Baseline, you
I was
gotta have
being
it in.
very pointed.
I'm aware of what you were
But
being
yes, no, it can
pointed
happen.
at.
It can happen for a lot. But yes, penis
Yeah.
is really
Penis is
Right.
really, they
Right.
lead the way in disproportionate
Yes. I mean, it
dynamics.
It is a
on.
patriarchal society. It is resident.
dickly disproportionate dynamics.
Right. It is resident in anybody, but
No, and it
particularly
is, right?
patriarchal societies, we men get the pass to be
A power pass.
a power pass
A
because
power
we're,
pass.
we swing the whatever size stick you have.
Or
Well.
And
I'm not gonna comment.
I'm just saying,
That was my comment.
but But you have it, and so because of that, to be just wild and
Sometimes.
and have the audacity. One thing men will have, me in particular as well, will have is the audacity.
And the
Now
mitigated
we
gall.
can
Okay.
mitigate it. Yeah. Now we could channel it in
Yeah.
all sorts of
True.
ways.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of us we've been given carte blanche to channel it in very deleterious
Nefarious. That's
ways.
a great word.
Mhm. I love nefarious.
Bad.
Makes me
Harmful,
think of Uncle Scar.
deleterious, harmful.
Deleterious and nefarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's something that we like. I think towards what you were saying, Whitney. I think maybe either off the record or last season that you said, men have to. If you see a man that is good, it's because he chooses to be.
Absolutely.
Not
He
because-
put it to work.
Yeah.
Men don't necessarily get rewarded for, like, they don't have to be good.
No,
They can even appear to be good and not be good and still get rewarded,
They
Right.
can.
right? They could also appear to be shit and be
rewarded.
not shit and be rewarded.
It could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, men are not incentivized for actually being whole people.
Well, they have
Yeah.
for a long time they haven't been by anybody, right?
True.
And it is interesting, and we'll get into the relationship bit of this later.
Mhm.
There is now a larger contingent of women who are interested in men and are like,
tragic.
I refuse to fuck with this.
Right.
You are not a whole person, and I will not be subjected to it.
Mhm.
And the men are like, feminism, huh? And it's like, I have
No.
self-respect.
Right.
I no
This is
longer
right.
have
I'm
to
also
babysit
requiring
a child.
more of you. I'm requiring you to be a whole adult,
Mhm.
Yeah, and so-
emotionally aware.
And I will say
vulnerable.
this. Right. I will say this as a shameless plug. We will have a new podcast out that is more male focused and men empowering called This Is Manhood.
This is manhood.
Coming out.
We're not going to be on it because we ain't got no manhoods.
We ain't got no manhoods.
Should we do a This Is Womanhood?
No.
No,
Well,
I don't want to.
part
I'm
of
bullshitting.
part of
please.
the podcast is that
could just
real
sit around
men
and
listen
sing
to
songs.
women, so we will have some women on there.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
but-
I didn't
but-
get no invite.
I mean,
He ain't
we
started yet.
haven't even.
I'm
found out the
bullshitting.
listeners.
I already know. My package was delivered.
Oh, wonderful. But anyway, just like I said, shameless plug. So be on
Yeah.
the lookout for that.
Yes.
Yeah. So it'll be.
We're expanding.
by
Oh my
yours
God.
truly.
Do we have a network?
The universe.
We're
The
working.
universe is
We're
expanding. I love
Yeah,
it.
we're
Our
working at it.
podcast verse.
Yes.
I love it. Our omniverse.
So, anywho,
Listen to
Yeah,
these
look out
three
for
talk
that.
shit in different ways.
Yeah.
yep.
Beep,
Um,
beep.
So yeah.
What was I about to say, though?
Ooh.
There was a thing I was
Mhm.
about to say about
You too.
about being in. Sorry, Chris and I have the same problem because we are similar people. Being in community that is in it just to, and maybe we already said it, but like anytime you're in any relationship, right? Whether it is communal, platonic, romantic, whatever,
Mm,
like rupture will happen. Rupture is going to happen because it's two people, right?
Yeah.
Or two or
Mhm.
more
right.
people, right? And at some point, somebody gonna hurt somebody on accident. Like everybody got different narratives, different
Right,
triggers, different
right.
whatevers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem, and I think oftentimes, especially in the service of not being vulnerable, we talk about the rupture
Yes.
when really the conversation is about the repair, right? The
Right.
rupture will happen,
Right.
Right.
But
Not
we-
the rapture.
not the rapture.
Rup-
You're
The
so
rupture.
fucking churchy.
You rupture.
Yeah,
The
damn it.
break. The damage.
But the rupture, there will be damage,
Mhm.
right? But vulnerability is saying, even beforehand, like if we know
Mhm.
there's going to be a rupture at some point, how do we handle this, right? Like, how can I show up vulnerably
Yeah.
and acknowledge, A, that there was, or if I'm the offendee, like that there was a rupture? Because some of us,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at you and me, Christian, we might suck it up in the name of, in previous forms of us, we're still working on, let's
It's
say
a
this,
process.
not sucking it up in order to keep the peace.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
And so, but like to make a repair, we have to acknowledge a rupture, which can feel
Absolutely.
vulnerable.
It is.
Right.
It is.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
but also in order to hear that we've ruptured something,
Yeah.
we also have to have vulnerability to see ourselves reflected back. right?
Yeah.
Or the impact, even if it wasn't
That
the
is-
intent, the impact of our actions reflected back.
That's what makes intimacy both beautiful and terrifying
Absolutely.
at the same time.
Jesus.
For sure.
Because you feel seen. But
Yeah.
you feel seen.
You feel
Except
seen.
when people
In your
see you.
totality, right?
It's
You're
like, oh, I
seeing your
feel
totality.
seen, but
Right.
I see you.
I see you.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think like when you talk about it, like the way that for us, it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about the damage that's been done because I want to keep the peace.
Yeah.
There's also a method of I don't want to talk about the damage that's been done because I don't want you to know that you have that much power, right?
Yeah. Ooh.
You
You
My
know,
bad.
and I think
I'm
that's
not
my
gonna let you
brand.
see me cry.
No, and that's
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Or like my thing would be like I used to say, I don't say this anymore, so nobody panic. But like I used to be like, oh, don't just ignore my tears. They don't mean anything. I'm just frustrated.
Mm.
Right. And it's like, no, they mean
Minimizing your own
everything.
feelings,
They
yeah.
mean, well, no. And like for me, I know it's like I don't want
But
to
to
share that
others,
with you.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Right.
A, because you just ruptured and I don't trust that like we can repair.
I mean,
You know?
that is a problem.
Now,
My
granted,
God.
when that was true, there was a reason.
Right.
Right.
And so again, back
So-
to the it's not always safe to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so yes, there are times
Yeah.
when vulnerability is not something you owe another person.
Yeah.
Nah.
But like to your point, like you saying in your head, I know that this is a thing, but I don't feel safe sharing it with you. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas for me, it's like, you shouldn't feel a way about this.
Yeah.
Why do you feel a way about this? There's something wrong with you if you feel a way about this.
No,
so
that's real.
that internal lack of vulnerability, even
Mhm.
with me,
Mhm.
like if there are times where
Mhm.
vulnerability is not possible with other people, but if you can't be honest with you, sis,
Yeah.
Right.
if you can't be honest with yourself,
You don't
man,
stand a chance.
struggle.
Yeah.
Struggle. It's gonna struggle for you on your lonesome, for you
Mhm.
in any kind of relationships you got, and probably for you in community too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very valid. That's one of the things y'all said that brought up to mind one of my previous dating relationships where I was, dating someone, and this is back when I had an evangelical purity cultural mindset where we were trying to skirt the lines of sexual intimacy. We were trying to,
How far
relate
is,
to one another.
How far is
without-
sex?
Right. How far is sex before it's not
Right. Before it's
sin?
not holy.
Right. Before
It's like what can we do?
what can we
Right.
do? So yeah, we were flirting in line for about a year and a half.
Which
and
is such
then-
a crazy ass question because at
Such
this
a
point,
crazy
just
question.
fuck. Like, because it's all.
And that's what she got to. She's like, look, we might as well just go ahead and fuck. But so many ruptures have happened.
Yeah.
Beyond that
Leading
point,
up to that.
relationally.
Yeah,
that
yeah,
made
yeah.
You feel like you were unsafe. And so, we should do this. And I was just like, okay. Initially I was in that moment where I was just like, okay, I guess, we can do that. I guess, you make a valid case and we should have
That is
sex.
such a weird
But I felt
way to talk
very-
about sex.
felt very afraid.
Mm.
Because even though she was quote unquote a virgin in the sense of not having vaginal sex, and I would be, when we thought we were getting married, I was like, oh yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah. So
Because I know who this person is, and that's crazy that you thought that.
well,
But different time,
Continue.
different time, different place, different people.
Yep. So we'll talk after the record.
Oh my God.
But
Do we
but-
need to? I feel like we've talked about this, but yes.
But so after when that happened, we was like, okay, and in that moment I was like praying to God, I was like, Lord, let something happen because I'm about to do something that's gonna really be not conducive to my course.
Not conducive to my course.
I didn't say all that, but I'm saying that now.
No, yeah,
But
the
that
way
was
your
the
brain just
feelings.
talks in alliteration is great.
Yeah.
I love this. I
don't
love
know.
it.
I got
it's the preacher in you.
it is.
It's absolutely the
It is
preacher in
the
you.
preacher.
Ingrained.
So it was just definitely something that's it just didn't jive well with what I was supposed to be doing in life. And as soon as we was about to do it, our mom came in.
Yes,
I
mother.
was like, praise.
Saved.
I was like, praise God.
Praise
But-
I was
Santa.
like, thank you, Jesus.
The
Thank you,
fact
Big
that
Sanders. Because I didn't have the wherewithal to
stop it yourself.
stop it myself.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
wild.
Not a ram in a bush.
It was.
That's
It was
called
a
mama.
moment. It was
Okay.
whew. And then she was like, well, we can, I'm free next Tuesday. We can reschedule somewhere else. And then that's when I was like,
Now
okay,
you're scheduling sin.
now I have to say something.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it didn't happen now, but it was almost like God was like, I'm gonna give you space so that you can own it. I'm not going to get you out. You still have to articulate what it is that you know.
Absolutely.
What you're thinking.
Because, right.
You have to be
It's like,
vulnerable.
I didn't save you to still be a bitch. So
Right.
I saved
No
you.
bitch
I
assness.
saved you to get your balls and say what you need to say.
Oh,
So
I gave you time to get your gumption up.
right,
yeah.
right.
I was like, is your gumption located in your testicle?
Well,
That's, you
the
know what I mean?
testicular fortitude and all
Yeah,
of that
that's like
gathered
the-
the balls. I'm sorry.
It's very man-centric. Carry on.
Man.
I mean,
you know,
he's
I
a
am
man.
man. You know,
I am
I
a
am
man.
man. A man I bees.
Oh, that was creative. Everybody's so creative.
Everybody's
I
so
bees a man.
me. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you be.
Mm-hmm.
See, here we go. Vulnerability with my vocabulary.
God damn it.
Oh,
Not vulnerability with my vocab. Okay.
Yeah,
It's just in you. Carry on.
all the
my
time.
vernacular. I'm sorry. Anyway,
Where are my tiny tomatoes to throw?
Tomato.
I need my- Somebody fetch my tiny tomatoes.
Where the
Tomato,
cherry
tomato,
tomatoes at?
man.
I got some, but they bad.
That's what you need.
Oh, right.
Anyway.
Tomatoes. Yes. Okay.
All right. So, wow, that's wild.
I'm going to go get them.
Not rotten, but wild. Anyway,
They are wild. They still on the stem.
Oh, those are the
damn,
good
those
ones.
are heirloom tomatoes.
No.
Oh, damn.
Heirloom
Just
tomatoes are
cherries?
usually too heavy for the stem. There's
Gotcha.
some like that.
Gotcha.
Cherry.
Yeah, and I feel like that would hurt.
Not if they're rotten. It'd just be really gross.
Hurts
Exactly.
my nostrils. So yeah, like it was a moment like, okay, well, we could do it next Tuesday. I was like, you know, at that point, it was like, oh no, I still got to say shit,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, I don't trust you,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not like she was infidelity. It was very much like you have not proven yourself trustworthy with all of me, because
Yeah.
for me, sex was not just a physical exercise, it was a spiritual, emotional, and psychological experience. I'm trusting you with me
Yeah.
inside of you. And if I give that to you, you know, because for me, it was like sexual, all right, we're locked in. We're done. I took your virginity, so to speak. And so we're locked in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, you know, because that's what I said to me. I was like, I'm not going to. That was my sexual ethic. It's like, okay, I'll have sex, but I'm not going to take someone's virginity, so to speak. If that was something they was committed to and they wanted to have through marriage, and if we end up having sex before marriage, well, I'm marrying you.
Oh.
Like that was a
Oh.
Oh, okay.
You know,
I'm so glad I didn't have that, Jesus.
So-
Oh,
Disclaimer,
Lord.
disclaimer,
Again,
disclaimer.
disclaimer,
This was
disclaimer. It's not like, again,
this was Christopher's-
consensually.
This was Christopher's ethic.
That was my
Then,
ethic
in the
at time.
past.
It
In the
was.
past.
It made sense to me because it's like, okay, hey,
Yeah.
This
all
is
right.
not a current.
No.
It's not
Not a
current.
current say.
But it was very much.
We're
this is-
talking in memory.
We're talking
In
in memory,
memoriam,
and
yeah.
it's, you know, and not so much like I'm marrying you like against your will, but it's like if
Yeah.
That's
we,
the plan.
if we go down this path,
Yeah.
and we
That's
end
where
up
we need to end up.
and we feel like, you know,
Yeah.
this is it, we're here for each other, and then we end up having sex, and you know, this is a, you know,
Right. That is my anticipation.
that is my
I
anticipation.
wouldn't do this if I did not anticipate doing that with
Right.
you. But because I can't anticipate doing that with you, I will not take your virginity.
I will not take you.
But that's a level of vulnerability,
Mhm.
like to tell somebody no,
Yeah.
right.
but when you're already in relationship and be like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
That's the end, to be honest. Like,
is-
that's
Yeah,
the
after
beginning
that,
of the
we
end.
would, after not many months after that, when I said I don't trust you, I mean, there's no
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you leave with
fucking
that. Yeah.
relationship. You know?
You said what you said. You said it with your
Yeah,
chest.
it's
But
like
I mean,
Balls?
even
I don't know.
Yeah,
obviously that was like a
Mhm.
you know, that was a dating relationship, but even in marriage, and not if you say you don't trust somebody and you're already married to them, that sucks.
Why did you do that?
That-
Well, you know what?
Well,
People,
it-
people
There's a
can't
lot-
trust
Right.
can
It-
be revoked.
right. That's
Trust
what
can-
happened when we.
Yeah,
like, it's
trust
fucking
can be
got
revoked.
got revoked.
Yeah.
And I was
But I
like,
mean,
hey,
even just like the act of telling somebody I don't want to do something,
Yeah.
regardless of why you don't want to do it, that's vulnerable.
No, it is.
Like the ability to say
Right.
no,
Yes.
the confidence that when you say no, you won't be rejected or harmed.
Right, and that your no is sufficient enough.
That
No
somebody
without
won't-
explanation.
Somebody won't try
Baby.
to override your
Right.
no.
Correct.
Like that is a level of intimacy that is, I don't think we talk about it enough.
Yeah.
That like it's like, well, we talk about it and people, why didn't she just say no? The vagina has teeth that come out if you get raped and all this other bullshit. People
What?
like, you don't remember that one?
That's
Oh my
wild.
God.
Dentata. There was a movie called, listen, this was a conversation I had years ago. It's a movie called Dentata, and it's about a girl. She got teeth in
I'm
her
so
vagina.
Anyway, but like the idea.
stressed.
Steve disturbs
Look it up
me.
later. No.
But I have an idea. I vaguely remember you talking about this.
Um,
But like the fact that there are so many people who are like, number one, they're like, oh, well, yeah, people ignore you when you say no, but like your body can take care of it. And it's like, that is not how bodies work. And the fact that when people don't say no, people are like, why didn't you just say no?
Because it wasn't going to be respected either way.
I didn't.
And there's other pieces that come along with that.
I was afraid.
Right.
That is a valid reason not to be vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Because no is vulnerable.
No is vulnerable.
You
no, that
put
needs to be
yourself
on a
out
shirt.
there when you say no is vulnerable.
No is vulnerable because it is.
It is,
Right?
right? Whether you give a reason or not. And particularly if you don't.
Particularly if you don't. Because then you got to stand in it.
You just got to
without
stand
justification.
There with 2 letters and a period.
Exactly.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, if I didn't know why I didn't want to do it, I probably would have been like, yeah, I just don't feel it. But I knew why.
Yeah.
Like either I didn't know or the words came in that moment.
Yeah.
No, that's right.
Like, you know what? I don't trust you. And I was like,
the beginning.
It was like an aha moment. I was like,
like, damn, I really don't trust you.
I don't trust
that's
you.
your
Like,
ADHD busting out right
why
there.
is this fucking with me? Like,
Yeah.
I don't trust you.
But even like sitting with yourself to get to that point, that's a vulnerability, right?
It is.
Especially as a man, especially you're like, okay, this is my girl, like this is where we're going. You're like, it doesn't feel right. Instead of just being like, fuck it.
Right.
Which I feel like is
I should want this, so I'm going to do this.
Right. Like you really sat with yourself to try to like figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like why is this weird for me? Like why? And it got to the, oh shit, I don't trust this bitch.
Right. You prove yourself not to be safe for me, so I won't give that to you. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I was like, man, like I didn't. Anyway,
I'm curious if there was any like attempt to repair that, like whatever the trust rupture was, and like if not, is that what led to the breakup?
Yeah, it was. It was just a series, and I couldn't explain it beyond that.
Yeah.
But there were pivotal moments in the relationship leading up to it that spoke to me about, hey, she's not the partner you need.
Like she's not willing to show up.
She's not willing to show up in a way that I needed.
Yeah.
It's not the saying that she didn't show up the way she thought she should, or whatever. But
it wasn't working.
You know, I don't need no Proverbs 31 woman bullshit. I need you to show up for me.
Yeah. Show up for yourself.
Yeah. Show up for yourself.
And then show up for me.
You didn't show up for me. And so there was a breakdown in seeing that. And, you know, at first I was very much head over heels and we were very much like, oh, this is it. We're going to get, and then as the relationship unfolded, it was very much real at that moment. Oh, okay. We're not ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually not ready. We're not fit. We'll never be ready.
Sometimes vulnerability will get you there.
It will.
Right.
Now this is a bad fit. We are not aligned.
We're not aligned.
Yeah, no.
What I need and what you need are two different things.
Yeah.
And she's found somebody else that matches her
it's whatever
energy, whatever that looks like.
I'm glad we're not on camera.
Whitney.
You can't tell the people.
I just did.
But, you know, I mean, more power to them. Everybody got to find out how to work it out in this life.
Find your own weird.
I don't have no ill will towards it. I just knew we didn't match up. And it was my fault for stepping over that line, for being more than friends when we probably should have just stayed surface level. That's all that we could handle about each other.
No.
If I hadn't gone down, like this is me admitting fault. It's not just I don't trust. Like, no, I opened myself up to experience the distrust.
Yeah.
Because I crossed some lines initially that should not have been crossed. And so for me in that moment, I was really feel like I was getting back what I put out.
Probably.
Quite possibly.
You caused a lot of stress in my world in that period. So this
we've all known each other
for so long and in different ways.
Yeah.
So before Chris was Christian's husband, we knew each other differently.
Right.
Yes.
So through like other mutual relationships. And so so like
similar friend circles.
Yes.
We'll say that so it don't sound
exactly
interpretive to anybody.
Correct. We were in similar friend circles that were not inclusive of Christian.
Correct.
And so like Christian's always been on one side. So it's like I had two arms. Christian
Right.
was on one arm, and then like this friend circle, and Chris was on a different arm.
Of the friends.
Yeah. And so then when these two things got together, Mama was dubious.
Fair.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
Because I didn't know any of
this
the
nigga
stuff.
wreaked havoc. He wreaked havoc in the circle. I know you're not talking about Chris Barnes.
Oh, not my government name. Right.
No, that's not all of it. And
That's not all.
I don't even
Yeah.
remember all of it.
we're not
Don't
doing
worry
that.
about
No.
it. Yeah,
No.
not Chris.
Well, you've said your name on other episodes.
I have.
He said his last name.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So you put it together.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, and so no, he wreaked a lot of havoc. But growth.
My actions wreaked havoc. I didn't.
And you were the person committing them. Therefore,
Okay,
liking such
distancing
ass.
languages.
Therefore, liking such ass
Okay, distancing language. I did not have sexual relations
with that woman. Define teenage.
And I didn't.
Well, you didn't.
Age with teen in it. What the fuck?
Somebody call Robert and don't call Robert.
But I mean,
Oh,
don't nobody call this.
No one call Robert.
No one call Robert. But I mean, like, I've had similar experiences in the past where it's like, there are things. I'm in this relationship and it feels like it has to be this way because I ascribe to a certain type of purity culture bullshit as well. And a lot, probably more than both of y'all put together.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so I have this idea about the person I'm supposed to be with and how it's supposed to work. And it's like, you have to, at some point, it was like, I am trying to make this work. I'm trying to make this work. I'm trying to make this work. And when it didn't work, it wasn't because I broke it off. It was because they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm devastated, right? Like, oh no, whatever shall I do? And so then it's like, wait a minute. Am I devastated? Was I happy?
Was I happy?
Did I even want that? Did I feel like I had to do it because other people said I had to do it?
Or because it made sense on paper?
It made sense on paper.
Made
We
sense on
looked
paper.
good together.
There were a lot of similarities,
you
like
didn't think you had
cute
other
little
options?
coinky dinks.
Yeah, they were
You
cute.
got them anyway, and that's not fair. I want name coinky dinks.
I still got my name Coinky
You
Dink.
did.
But it was actually for me instead of,
Instead of the
Slightly
other name.
removed.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there are so many times in my life, and it's always, for me, it's like, it's not like after the fact, it's after the fact. Like you're talking about 4, 5, 6 years later where I'm like, I didn't actually want that, or I really wanted that, and I could have done it. Why did I think I couldn't do it? Why did I think I had to do this?
That's how I felt too. I was like,
It's like you just you turn yourself inside out and into another person,
Yeah.
and you don't even realize it sometimes because you're not able to be honest with yourself,
Yes.
right? And that like he says, like, should have been friends with you. That's
should've-
what I should have been.
should have been friends.
But there's a narrative that's playing in the back of your head. There's a story going on that's like, you need to pursue this because X, Y, and Z and timetables and ticking clocks and all this other
Girl.
bullshit, right? And it's like, or, you could not.
You
Do you even
Right.
want to?
Right. Or is this an
Right.
implanted narrative?
And I was gonna say too,
Inception.
and this
Exactly.
and this may be something we could edit out or whatever, but I will say this: there is a certain level. Now I'm great that I am right, but there is a certain level of regret that I was not present enough to have enough fun when I could
Dude.
have had the fun.
Dude.
Wow. So it's funny. Me,
I was like, I was
and-
so caught up in trying to be hope. I was like, I
It
really-
wasn't even enjoyable because I'm already.
right.
No,
I'm
that's
just
to the
like, I
degree it
really
could have been.
I really
No, that's
could've-
real. So listen,
I could have gotten it in. It was,
me and Jessica. So
Oh.
Jessica, I'm a shout out Jessica.
Hey, Jess.
Yeah.
That's my other best friend who is also one of Christian's good friends. She is a well-loved person in our community. Me and Jessica talk about this all the time.
right.
That like our 20s were wasted on being
Right.
holy.
Right.
Like it was
For
just
no
like,
reason.
for no reason. We was just out here going to Bible study on Friday night and like making sandwiches to give to the homeless on Saturday night. Or Saturday morning. And then we would be, either hanging out with each other or hanging out with the group, doing real holy shit on Saturday night so we could go to church on fucking Sunday. Like it was such a holy experience that like we didn't get to have our hoeing experience until we were in our 30s, right? Because then we were like,
Right.
oh, here's the
Right.
thing. Like I had some fun. I didn't, but the fun wasn't without guilt.
Right.
Yeah.
That's part. It's
I
like
had such guilty fun
right.
in
It's
my
like
20s.
I had sex, but it was like I wasn't fully
You did-
present enough.
Right.
To enjoy it.
because I was worried about my repentance.
There's always something in the back of your head.
It's the Holy Ghost. It's like, no, that's my conditioning.
It's my conditioning. Like, I'm not being convicted. I'm being constrained.
And I think, like, the thing that is most annoying about that is because I was so vigorously conditioned to have the voice in the back of my head, it didn't shut the fuck up when I got married.
And it never so it doesn't
like that. This is literally the construct that y'all said that I was allowed to have fun in, and now I still can't. God damn it!
That's not how it was. So, like, we can talk about it like that. So the one time I was married,
that one time in
that one time for several years I was married, and like had been with this person years prior to that. Like, we had a very like holy, well, I ain't gonna say very. It was holy enough relationship. What are sex boundaries, right?
Right.
How far can we go?
But like the trying to get your brain out of the like, this is bad, this is sinful, this is whatever the fuck.
Episode.
I know, but I mean, I think it goes with vulnerability.
It does,
right?
though.
But I'm just like, I remember having conversations, as we also had like a Christian group of friends, and I remember like us having this conversation within the group, and like one of the guys being like, I was taught, he was like, I had to make sex disgusting in my mind, so I didn't want to do it.
Right.
It's not now all of a sudden magically not disgusting.
Right.
This is a story I have told myself. I believe it.
Exactly. It's the narrative that I needed to like keep my behavior in check, right? It doesn't magically, like, you have to undo narratives.
You gotta unknot that thing. It's like
and it's deep and hard. It's a hard knot.
You know when you put a necklace that's got a strand
that's literally
into a box, and then it gets all them little knots and it's in a bigger knot, and you literally need a safety pin to try to pick that shit apart, and then your hands start cramping and you got to come back to it later. Sometimes you just throw the necklace away. You can't do that with your sexuality. You got to pick that shit apart, damn it.
You have to pick or suffer. Or suffer. And like, please stop suffering in sex. That's a waste.
That's very much a waste.
Just like sex is incredibly liberating.
Just like us in our
calories may be burned, but
calories do be burned. So, but still.
But it's supposed to be fun, man. All the nerve endings.
Like pleasure, right? Like, and so I think there's what I had to learn was being vulnerable enough, not only within my mind, but within my body enough to experience actual pleasure. Like, it took me years to get to the point where I was like, not only is this shit good, but also I'm that bitch. Like, I'm that bitch and I'm that nigga, right? Like, when I said it, and I said it with my chest, okay? It took me years to get there because, like, being pleasured and having like this pleasurable experience in that way is a type of vulnerability.
Extreme.
It's an extreme, especially when you've been conditioned, right? It's an extreme vulnerability. And so like even venturing to unpack that with someone is incredibly vulnerable. Which is crazy. I don't think I ever had a moment where I was like, I am actively unpacking this with you. I just decided one day.
And you started.
Yeah. And I was just like, no, fuck it. I did. Now I got good feedback.
What?
Hey. They were like, what the fuck happened to you? Me, well.
It's all started.
Several things, actually.
But no, I mean, me and Chris are, I'm going to say me and Chris. I tend to probably be more open about this, but Chris doesn't usually shut me up.
Let's see if you will in editing. No.
I want to know.
But I mean, like like I said, I struggle with it even in marriage. And obviously if you didn't know, Chris is the only person I've ever been married to.
What?
And so,
I Christian.
And so the conversations that we've had to have, right, as I go to the process of deconstructing, the vulnerability frequently, I'm literally breaking down in tears anytime we have discussions about sex, which ain't sexy. It's not. I fully admit it.
No, I mean, it gets us there.
Yeah, it gets where you need to go.
I'm not going to have sex while you crying.
No, thank you.
It's going to,
thank you.
It's a
but
an emotional buildup towards a crescendo.
But I mean, but the reality of it,
like the trust that we build in that moment is sexy.
Right.
Yes.
Right. What comes out of that?
Because the vulnerability that is required for me to tell him what it is that I'm thinking, what it is that I'm feeling, what is maybe so emotional that I'm now crying, just thinking about taking my clothes off, because that's a real thing for me.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that I have to talk to him about that, tell him what I'm thinking, tell him what I'm feeling, like the amount of feelings, the fear, the shame, the guilt that's coming up, and like also just me feeling like a fucking idiot. Like that's really how I be. I'm like, this is so stupid.
That hurts.
Right.
Like,
oh no, like that hurts, Christian.
that's how it feels.
I know.
I feel like an idiot. And the same thing happened with the stupid credit card. But that's a different subject for another day.
Yeah.
But like just like the fact that I grew up and was socialized into this narrative that has put me in a place where I can't enjoy my own body in marriage is so fucked up.
It is.
And now I, at my big age of 38, have to figure out how to undo it piece by piece.
But you're doing it.
I am. And you talking about
Yes.
It takes so much more effort.
Yeah.
We are better than what we were when we first started.
Oh.
And we're on our 7th year.
9,000%.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Hi, yes, Jesus.
It's coming.
Yeah.
But like for me, and
I'm on my own journey with that too.
Yeah, Chris has his own journey with that too. But I mean, for me, it just there's a part of me is like, if only you hadn't fucked me up.
Yeah, imagine.
If only you
a concept
fucked me up.
Yeah. And I want to say this too, is like, while in jest I lament, or we lament about, we should have really, been free from those mental shackles to be able to be present and enjoy. I do feel like in so many ways those mindsets have been helpful in the shaping your form of identity in ways that maybe they were harmful in other ways. So I want to express a level of gratitude.
I actually would like you to clarify what you mean by that.
Yeah. So for me, I'll speak for me.
Yeah.
So, maybe having those mindsets led me to where I'm in a better position to be your husband while we're unpacking this together. Again, one of my things in my theological voodoo stuff is that
theological nigodem.
Yeah, theological nigodem. There you go. Yeah, part of my theological premises is that God wastes nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your framework.
Right.
Yeah.
Framework. Thank you.
That's the word you wanted.
Man. See, this is why I'm not an academia, because I don't have the best words when I need them.
Shut
Lies
up. Shut up and finish your thought.
Anyway.
We're not doing any more self-deprecating things.
That's not true, but we're going to
call
it out
every time.
We're going to call it out.
That's my mama said stop doing that shit.
See?
She did. Thank you, Miss Melinda.
TM.
Vulnerability TM.
Okay. Stop trademarking everything.
This nigga wants to trademark everything.
Millennials trademark TM. Stop. You cannot make money off of that. I mean, you can, but
stop it.
He can try.
Don't be a jerk.
Hey,
you're a jerk.
They need to come up with a better system.
You're a
I
jerk.
won't do this. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, it's like I'm grateful for where it is, because it's like, again, that build me up to where I am now. And I think some of those things that couldn't happen, those stories that I have, the experiences I have, the lessons that I've learned, maybe it could have come a different way.
Yeah.
But for the path that I have, God has a way of bringing that back around.
Yeah.
If you allow him to, again, if you're vulnerable with him or with them, God can use all the situations in your life to turn it around and bless you for your good, as long as you're able to be honest and vulnerable with him.
Yeah.
And so for me, I want to, I guess say that, because a lot of us, it's like, no, I'm not saying that I wish I would have been a philanderer. That's like, not what I'm saying.
No.
I'm saying
that's
that
not
I would have had a more expanded sexual ethic, such that whenever I did find myself in those situations, it was okay. It would have just been casual, and we just moved on.
Yeah.
But now, there was this grief and this guilt attached to it. That didn't need to be in that moment. And but God uses all things.
Well, and I think that's something beautiful about that, like about life. Oftentimes when we go, like, going through the hard thing gives you a deeper understanding of the hard thing.
Absolutely.
This is why, like, when we talk about, like, the most oppressed people having the clearest view of the system, that's why, right? Like, we've had to actively unlearn and work and call things a thing, because we're experiencing the most of the thing.
The weight of it.
Right. So, like, white people can't describe whiteness, because they are, in fact, white.
They're fish in the water.
Right? It's the people that are subjected to the thing. So like in this context, like sexual repression, let's just call it that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you've never been sexually repressed, there are certain components and things that might not be as easy for you to grasp because it's just the air for you.
Right.
Whereas like people have had to work for it
And work through it.
and work through it.
Yeah.
Like there's more that, because like you have to unpack, and when you unpack, you see all the components.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I mean, there is my lament is definitely for the guilt and shame of it all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the lack of care and nuance that went into building narratives that would allow you to make good choices hard stop. Right?
Yes.
And so the idea that we have that the only good choice is to not have sex until you get married.
Trash.
Right? I disagree with it as a general idea, but not because I feel like people should just fuck whoever they want. Like, I mean, you can do what you want, but because I feel like there are better ways to help people choose not to have sex with the whole planet, if that's your goal.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Or
If that's your goal.
there's other ways of circumventing, say, teen pregnancy.
If that's what you're
That was
trying
the
to
cause, 'cause I think
avoid.
that was what it was to
I don't know if
teen
that's what they were
pregnancy.
trying
I
to
don't
was
know.
on the
They're
rise.
like, what do a soul tie got to do with teen pregnancy?
They just make
I
shit
mean,
They literally make sure
Well,
that.
they were trying to fearmonger, right?
They were
But
fearmongering.
it was also addressing a societal ill at the time.
I don't.
Which
Maybe.
was for them in the black church was
Maybe.
teen pregnancy.
I mean, I think that shit goes way back before that was a big to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know if they quite line up. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I don't know.
I think
if that's
correlation, not causation.
Right. That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Correlation, and it's
So
like
it-
this is some.
but
and
to
this
your
is an
point-
added situation. I feel like beauty culture, it started with white evangelicalism, and then black people was like, okay, we need to
we
take
need
that
to be
on
like
as
them.
well.
Yeah.
Not only that, these sex issues are disproportionately affecting our community, and we need to have a
That's 'cause
sound
we don't have money.
response
but,
to it.
you know,
And the white people have done all the work, and so we'll just take it.
we'll just borrow it. Yeah.
And then of course in the Pentecostal circles, there's soul ties.
Yeah.
They add on to
Pentecostal,
that.
baby, we
Because
talked
they-
about
because
soul
they
ties
add
in the
their own
Baptist
mystical
circle.
spin to
I didn't
shit.
get as much of that
What's
one.
that?
How the hell did you not? We were in the same cult.
I don't remember that one.
No.
Oh, I
'Cause
remember.
Chris asked me about
I
soul
remember
ties, and I
soul
don't remember
ties.
that. I heard about soul ties in
Well,
college.
yeah.
Oh, no,
y'all's
absolutely
church
grew-
was.
I
Pentecostal.
absolutely-
You also went to a charismatic church.
That was much later, baby.
That was much later.
That was, I was in high school by the
you
time
had
that happened.
so you had
Soul
soul ties at the
The soul tie language was
same-
absolutely
I don't
okay.
remember that
Were
one.
you paying attention? Had you checked out because you were like, I am an asexual being?
Yeah.
I'm not supposed
I-
to do it. That shit don't matter. I've already agreed not to do it.
I may have like asexualed my ass out of that conversation.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that.
no.
that-
I absolutely. Because like that was a big conversation. It was the
it
like,
definitely depends
do
on
you
what
want to be tied to all these people? And
I
it's
thought
just
we were
like,
Baptists. Why are we talking about this? This is very mystical. Yeah, we don't do mystical
Baptist.
shit.
We were Baptist.
I
You were
understand, but
Baptist.
in my culture, we were not. We were Baptist.
No, you were Baptist.
Baptist Methodist?
Baptist Methodist.
Heard.
I got the Holy Ghost outside the Baptist church.
Well, I didn't get the Holy Ghost in my Baptist church. I
No,
at that in
we
that
didn't do that.
charismatic
In the
prosperity
same, we got the
church.
same
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy
Oh,
Ghost.
yeah, we did. We talked
Yep,
about
Same
this.
place,
Same Holy
yeah.
Ghost.
Same brand.
Same brand.
Literally from the same dispensary.
Right, but the same dispensaries.
But yeah, I mean,
So,
like it. To your point, right? Whatever it is that you are trying to combat in
Right.
when it comes to sexuality in the church, we are on a tangent. Whatever you're trying to combat, I fully believe that there are better ways to do every single one of them.
Absolutely.
If you're trying to combat teen pregnancy, telling people that everybody that they have sex with turns them into a chewed wad of gum is not the best way to go about
Very
it.
terrible rhetoric.
It
Right?
actually is not evidence based.
It's
What
not-
actually
well,
is
no.
evidence based is like education. Right. And
Education.
education is not going to get you like, oh, no sex. But is that really the goal? The goal is like smart, responsible decisions about sex.
Which is why I'm
Right,
saying,
which
like,
is another
at
aspect
the end
of the personhood that we need to be teaching.
at the
Yes.
end of
Have
the day,
adults.
like if I teach someone, hey, anybody that you want to be vulnerable with in that way, they should be willing to be vulnerable with you similarly. Anybody that you would like to be in relationship with should be reciprocating some of the energy you're putting out. If you're putting out, I am open, and they're putting up wall,
Not,
baby, not
or y'all
not
open in different ways. Right. And I
Right,
think
like,
about this as like a
mismatch.
Yes. I think about this as a single person now. Right. So like if I'm talking to someone
Uh-huh.
And like, it's like, oh shit, there's a lot of tension in this bitch, right? Like, okay, but like, what is the tension? Like, what's the intention behind the tension? Right? Like, is it just sexual tension? Because if it is, okay, let's call it sexual tension. We can resolve that quickly
and be done.
Right. But if this is like beyond sexual tension, right? It's something else, or like it need to be even. I believe in evenness. It needs to be even. So like if I like you and you just here for casual, that's not even, and it's not going to work, and I'm not going to participate because it's dangerous. That's unsafe for me.
They talk about being unequally yoked, and they really didn't. People be confused about what that means, but that's what they talking about. What
right. The principle behind that.
Right. It needs to be even. We need to have aligned intention.
We need to be carrying the same load in the same direction.
Yeah, and so that's my thing. So like, let's say, okay.
I know what it is.
Come on. She lives with that
the same load in the same.
No,
my God.
But like, and that's really it. And so like, having to gain clarity on, this is funny, having to gain clarity on like, okay, also, I don't be liking people like that. So this is tough because it's easy to be like, oh, there's sexual tension. Let's just wrap this up. Right? Resolved. Like, let's get there. But when I finally like somebody, I okay, now wait.
Need more information.
I need more information because what I know is like, you have potential to disrupt my world.
Yeah.
Right. And so like, do I have potential to disrupt yours?
Yeah.
Or are you going to carry on business as usual? Because if that's the case, this cannot be resolved in this way.
Right.
Yeah. Because then I'm going to be placed in a place of like risk.
Yeah. Right. And so if we have those types of discussions about how we enter into relationships, how we choose sexual partners in general, if you want somebody to focus on building good relationships, make them people, encourage them, equip them to be people who are good in relation.
Right. Make them emotionally intelligent, relationally savvy.
God. Vulnerable.
Help them to read
self-aware.
Self-aware.
All of these
kind, patient, like cultivate that shit.
Yes.
And then tell them before you decide to make a relationship, make sure they're on the same wavelength. Yep. And if they're not, pass.
Pass, puff.
Pass. Maybe don't puff, depending on how bad it is. Pass.
No, that's real. Because puffing will get you somewhere else.
It can. It can distract you, B.
It can.
Have your brain all discombobulated.
I have some time to develop.
I'm sorry you said that again.
Right.
You had some time to develop what?
I had some time to develop it because our toddler is 3.
Yeah.
I was just like, you know what? At some point, I want to teach her to be responsible with her sexuality. But at the same time, I was like, at the very least, if you're going to have sex, at least have a job.
That's Chris's rule.
At least have your own space. Because life comes from that. And I need
well. That makes sense.
I don't care how much protection you make. You could always slip it. That's how I got here. They thought they were in the clear. And then here I am.
Boom.
Luckily, my mom was 36.
And had a job.
And had a family.
And had a place.
She could dump me off on. So.
Well.
You can dump shit off of me.
That's your baby.
That's your baby. So, if you're going to have sex,
you ain't gonna fuck
have
up
a
my
job
baby,
with benefits.
Because somebody's got to pay for just delivery.
Have your own spot.
You ain't about to fuck up my baby.
I just want to tell you, brother, that's not realistic.
I mean, it's not realistic.
That's not realistic.
It's not.
It's not.
Teaching and cultivating emotional intelligence and relational, but this is more of a trapdoor. It's like, hey, at the very least, if you can't figure all that.
But like, okay, so when we get to college, right? When the spirit is high. You can
get a job. But
you can't sustain yourself off a college job.
No. Go get a trade.
You already look at me in my eyes. This is Christopher's narrative. Okay. Christian is not gonna let nobody fuck around with her baby or her grandbaby.
Period.
You understand?
Right. Now, Chris ain't either. So
he not either.
He talking shit.
I'm not gonna kick her out and nothing like that.
No, but
it's very much like
instill the idea that there is a responsibility.
There's a responsibility around it.
I'm with him in the spirit.
I would love you to have. I would love to be able to support life that whatever you bring into the world, we'll still be there. Like
we're gonna be there.
What I'm saying is your timeline don't line up with people's like sexual exploration.
No,
that's all I'm saying.
It doesn't.
So, but I think that is something good to have in your mind that like this can be a consequence of this action. So like these are the things you need to factor in. That's one aspect of it.
It is an aspect, and to which I said, I was like, you know what? If you led with, hey, there is a one of the possible consequences of having sex is that you get pregnant. Having heterosexual sex.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Clarity.
Right.
At the very least.
Because I'm not pregnant.
There
you go.
Holla glow.
Holla glow.
At the very least, you should probably think about whether or not the person you're letting do the sticking is somebody you want to parent with.
No, that was my
at the
thing.
very
If you led with that, I didn't need to think about no damn soul ties. That's a human tie.
No,
That's
I think so. Here's the thing.
I'm not the fucking idiot. I don't know.
I don't know.
And I think once I exited my early 20s,
Yeah.
early 20s, you burning, right? Like much like Usher in multiple ways.
Burn.
Anyway, but like once my brain, my prefrontal cortex developed for real around 25, like I woke up on the 25th birthday and I said, y'all, I think I'm done. It felt like, that's how it felt. It felt like, oh, I feel less stupid. Now I wasn't done, but I felt less stupid. I felt like I could make rational decisions.
You got a
When
handle
that
on shit.
happened, that became my thing. It would be like, okay, can I parent with you?
Mm-hmm.
Can I parent with you? And to be honest, I love children. Y'all know this.
Yeah.
I love children and am very invested in their well-being and how like their experience as children, right? Like I am very that conscious. And probably would have been a dope ass mom. Okay. But I didn't find somebody that I was like, I would be okay co-parenting with you until much later. And then, even though like to this day, I'm like, okay, me and this person probably could have co-parented.
You could.
But I didn't feel safe with you.
Yeah.
So that's, you know what I'm saying? So that it didn't work. Like we could have, because we both love kids. Like it would have worked the same way. It would have been much more expensive to have one because gays.
I was gonna say that relationship that I was telling you about, that happened around my 25th birthday.
See?
So it's like the light bulb just came on. It's like, you know what? I'm done.
I'm cooked.
I think I'm done.
In the best way. Right. Stick a fork in me, bitch. Get the long toothpick.
I started at 24, broke up at 25. I was like,
See, and I didn't get married until 25, right? And I think what I thought in my marriage was like, because like the dude I married, dope ass dude, like really, solid
human
person, right? And we got into it, and I was just like, oh, I don't know. Like, you still a dope person, right? Like, you dope, right? But I don't know that I could parent with you like this. Like, I don't know that you're showing up in a way for me that I trust. Right. That all of the labor wouldn't fall on me, because I've been very clear with myself and God that like,
I'm doing this by myself.
No. And like, even, because then I will also say, well, you can't guarantee that because people die every day. God. If you ever give me a kid, I need a living ass partner.
Right.
At least get me to 17. Hey?
Right.
I'm not,
then he can ride off to the sunset.
who is he? What's a he?
You talking about? You said give me a partner. You talking about? I thought you were talking about the same dude, your husband or whatever.
No, I was talking in general. Like
the general.
You said give me at least until 17, and then after 17, he can ride off until the sunset with you.
Yeah,
like,
no, I was just
he
saying
can die.
this is,
I was using it.
No, but I'm saying this is my current mentality.
He was continuing the previous.
No, I got you.
story.
No, it ain't no he.
I understand. Ain't no.
If it is, baby, oh my God, surprise.
I thought that
was.
Huh?
What happened?
What did you? No, you did something messy. No, hell no. What did you say?
You have to play it back.
No, hell no. You know what you said.
Finish your
Do
story.
y'all hear how my friend be treating me?
Mm-hmm.
She listen, and and I know she says something because I thought I hadn't heard her, but the silly look on her fucking face tell me she was being messy. Oh my God! So I'm gonna have to listen to this. I'm gonna have to listen to the raw footage to see how you was a mess towards me, unto me.
Christian be mischievous. You gotta watch.
She is,
I
which
got
is
that
crazy
from my
because
daddy.
I think we're all mischievous
I
in
got
this
that from
room.
my daddy.
You did. Oh, well, yeah, you did. That's
Yeah,
cute.
that's-
But no, it's so it's one of those things, like, because also that's an aspect of vulnerability. It's like when you raising a kid together, like people that get along otherwise will be completely fucked over
Yeah.
with a kid if they're not careful.
Oh yeah.
So
You know?
Yeah. No. Yeah. I was like, ooh.
I'm gonna give you a deep side. That's all I got.
Yeah, I was thinking with that in the last couple of years. I was like, you know what? I really got to show up more. Like this is a self. I don't know if she clocked it, but I clocked it myself. I was like, I really got to show the fuck up more. Like, there's more different variables, but there's not variables are not evil, but there are more variables in the equation, and I gotta step up.
Absolutely.
And do my part. It wasn't. I'm not a terrible dad. I was not a deadbeat dad.
No.
But I was like, no, I could do more.
Yeah.
And just having that moment of vulnerability and just being like, hey, yeah, like
seeing myself.
Yeah.
And just being real, like, I don't like my performance. If I want to raise the kind of kid that what'd you say?
Say, come on, self-eval.
Right. It's like, I don't like my performance. If I want the kid that I say that I want the kid playing drums at 3 years old, I need to be.
You need to go get some drums.
You get some drums. I need
Mama
to
got
get
a
her
soundboard. She be pushing them buttons.
She loves it. She calls it going to work.
She work.
I love it.
Oh yeah,
That broken soundboard we have.
Yeah, she goes to work. Yeah,
she calls it going to work. But I mean, to your point, like the vulnerability to go, this is what was happening, and this is where I would like to go. But also not beating yourself up in the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. Of going, oh God, I was so terrible. I was the worst dad. Like you said, you're like, I was not a bad dad, but I wanted to do more, right?
Yeah. Right.
And like giving yourself past self grace, because the past self was doing the best it could in a time. But like right now, this self, I would like for this self to do more. I would like for this self to show up this way. I would like for this self to, be more present, be more vulnerable, be more whatever, be more involved.
Being more involved, really, especially when it comes to religious stuff, because I feel like, if the state of Texas is talking about this curriculum they're going to be talking about in the next year, I'm going to have to get a head start so that they don't be giving her no bullshit.
I mean, they will, but you just got to prepare.
Yeah, prepare to do your own education.
They giving out bullshit now.
They're going to get that bullshit now.
Can I pause you?
Sorry.
Because I'm sorry. No, you're good. As you were talking about like the grace, the self-compassion that you have to offer yourself, I just want to reflect that back to you. Because I will say, as you were like, you almost had me in tears when you were describing like the emotional experience behind like working through your sexual repression and how like you just feel so like, this is stupid. It's so stupid. And it's like, it's not stupid. Like you were programmed.
That was.
On purpose. Like that version of you was in compliance with what you were told was right. Right? And now you have new information. You're just updating your OS. And that takes some time, right? And then you got to restart the system.
So many reboots.
And sometimes there's bugs. And like, that's okay. But like the compassion that you are highlighting for Chris, I would love for you to apply to yourself. Because like when I say that hurt me, to hear you talk, like you are one of the smartest people I know. Right?
Which is why I hate it so much.
Well, but like it's not an indictment on your intelligence.
Right.
This was the experience that someone crafted for you. So the same way y'all are crafting a world for your daughter.
Yeah.
Right? Someone crafted a world for you to the best of their ability.
Right. Sure. And that's why I even shared about my ability to want to be grateful for what I've been through, because in some ways, you have to integrate yourself back into yourself.
Absolutely.
And you can't fault yourself. Yeah, I was such an idiot back then. It's like, no, I did the best with what I knew at the time. And now I know more. And while, I can lament what happened back then or what didn't happen. And then I can move forward with that. But I have to appreciate and accept that who I was valid and was right then.
Yeah.
For especially according to what I knew.
Yeah. Well, and you don't get to where you're going without that part of the journey. Right. And I think that's always been my thing, right? Like as we were talking about, like you need all of this to provide the context for you to really understand your foundation, right?
Yeah.
And like that's why integration is so important. That's why we don't kill our old versions of ourselves or like kill our shadows and all of that, because it's important to the grand scheme of our story, right? And how we come to understand our road, our existence, right? And how we show up. And I'm going to tell you this, as somebody who is a little bit further along down this particular road, is that like, I'm not going to trade her. Now, do I wish it hadn't happened that way? Yes. Right?
Yeah.
But like, I need her to be me.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I need her to be me. And so like, even if there are moments where like, because I think I exude a different energy than like is sometimes inside, right? And so in the moments where it's like, oh shit, right? Then I have to remember, oh no, bitch, you worked for this.
Yeah.
Right.
You worked for this moment.
Yeah.
Stay here. Come back here. That doesn't happen without her.
Yeah.
Right? And so just like, and I offer this to y'all as well, listening, like self-compassion is when we talk about being vulnerable with ourselves, self-compassion is a major component of that because we can't, like we cannot
Right.
show up for ourselves if we are not going to be gracious and compassionate to our own selves.
Right.
Right. And if you can't do that to your own self, like, and so many, especially as women, we can do that to people outside all day.
Right.
Right.
All day.
Exactly.
And we'll offer things that we will never offer to ourselves.
And I will say this to you, what you went through, and we call it repression, and here and now
It's really suppression.
it's suppression.
Yeah.
But for me, I don't know if it's healthy or not to think of it that way, but it does speak to me to a level of internal willpower you have in your mind that I can only admire. I can only admire.
I have some aggressive narratives.
Yeah.
I love the way you said that. I have some aggressive narrative. Girl, same and likewise.
There you go. So like for me, like around that sex, I just gave myself grief about it. I was like, I don't have enough to stop it and make it. That's like I can't make it disgusting. I must fuck. I just got to find a better way to do it.
Yeah.
And it was that kind of thing. But I think because of my maleness and because I'm a man, I didn't get the conditioning that you got.
Not the shame around it.
I didn't get the shame around it. Of course, I got the guilt from God and all of that stuff. But it was not the shame and not the things that we tell women to keep them in line. I didn't get all that. Misogyny. Yep. So
that's a good
the
point.
misogynoir and all of that.
Misogynoir. Oh,
So I didn't get all of that, but I do want to say what you did to try to be in compliance. It speaks to a level of brain power that you have.
I use up so much energy.
That
I used up
energy.
so much energy.
It did.
Yeah.
And I do envy it on some level as a person who sometimes feels that I am at times can seem to be unregulated, undisciplined, and could use some of that want power, as it were. With some things you will, and sometimes it's just the power to want.
Listen, let me tell you about ADHD and impulsivity.
Yeah.
It's just the way our brains are wired. So
Yeah. It is.
Yeah. Take your meds and get over it. Thank you.
Right.
Or don't and get over it. I don't. I am
right.
out here free range.
I am
Right.
literally the only
I just want to appreciate, like,
No, I got you.
I'm not.
No, don't let me stop you from
downing
appreciating your wife.
but I do want to
Please.
appreciate this is a superpower that you have.
Yeah.
It is so
It's
interesting.
a different kind of.
So this
You
is
just
gonna
got to use it a different way now.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a sidebar. I am the only person in this room who's not ADHD.
Yeah.
And
That's why she keeps us together.
I try, but I be going along for the ride sometimes because it'd be fun.
I mean, because you're a little spicy, which is weird.
Which is what I was about to say. I have not been diagnosed with anything. However, there are some tendencies that I have that are definitely giving off the autistic spectrum variety. And so when you were saying that, I was like, yes, I fixate. Yep, that's what that.
Yeah.
My ability to fixate, and the fact that I'm not gonna tell you how many romance books I read last year, but it was.
Oh my God, it's so many.
I fixated on trying to fix my problem in a very specific way, and one of them was reading romance books. And I read a lot of
so much.
I read a lot of them because I was like, I was unable to be vulnerable with myself. I was having a hard time being vulnerable with Chris, but I could allow a version of vulnerability when I was in an imaginary world. And so the books were like my gateway to trying to be more vulnerable with myself and with Chris, as well as therapy. I mean, I've been a couple times.
Amen.
This is number 3, I think. Overall.
Wonderful.
Anyway, I don't keep track. But yeah, like the for me, being able to like voyeur vulnerability, for lack of a better term, gave me a little bit of permission to be more vulnerable in my own reality.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think about it that way at the time, but as we were talking about it, it's like that was one of the stepping stones for me, is seeing, oh, they can be vulnerable. It's not necessarily bad. It's not necessarily like gonna lead to your final demise and destruction and all this other stuff, right? And so that's those baby steps of finding ways that I could cosplay vulnerability until I could be vulnerable. Like, this stuff don't change overnight, right?
Yeah.
You're not immediately gonna go from like not being able to talk about anything to just like pouring your heart out to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you can find a baby step,
Yeah.
any kind of baby step that's not gonna harm other people.
Well,
Sometimes you got to use what makes sense to you.
Yes.
In the
until
moment.
you're able to use what is the appropriate tools.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
more functional one.
More
yeah.
functional ones.
Well, and it helps to have like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like representation in a way. Like
Yeah.
it helps to see it in action, especially if it's not
Mhm.
something you've seen modeled. Like it's really hard to create from a blank
This
model
is why
space.
books are
You do.
so important.
Books are important, right? Like in hearing about how other people have framed their worlds and seen their worlds, fiction, nonfiction, romance, and
Whatever,
non-romance,
all of
right?
it.
Like books are important for this, but it could be whatever for you. And so just would love to encourage you all listening to like take inventory
Mhm.
of how vulnerable you are with yourself, how that
Yeah.
impacts how you show up in community, how it impacts how you show up in relationship,
Right.
right? With significant others or even like your
Friends.
close friends and
Yeah,
family, right?
Mhm.
And give us some feedback on that. We'd love to hear. I mean, you ain't gotta like you listen. It's a public space, and remember we talked about you get to be selective with how vulnerable you are in spaces. So you don't have to come in the comments writing out your whole situation
But
if you're not comfortable with that. And I would
But whatever you're comfortable sharing.
whatever you're comfortable sharing, and we're happy to engage you. We actually do respond.
we do.
Listen. I won't
Mhm.
respond to like ad posts, but I will respond to your comment.
Yeah, you
There you
comment.
go.
You
Yeah.
comment on a clip or one of our posts on Instagram or Facebook. We got you.
We
You
got
put a comment
you.
on Spotify, not Instagram. What's the other one? Apple Music, YouTube. We got you.
We got you. We gonna say something back. It's gonna be one of us. Now, if you're commenting on the post, it's probably gonna be Chris.
It's probably it might be me.
It might be you. It might be Christian.
might
It
be
won't
me.
ever be Whitney.
It won't ever be with
That's not how she likes
unless
to
I
engage.
crowdsource a response or something.
Yes.
But it's-
Right.
Or unless I
right.
am told. Whitney, can you respond to
or it
this?
would be ChatGPT, depending on the energy that's on it.
Yeah, if
You
your
come-
energy is
you come
staying,
in
you're not
correct.
talking to nobody but Chatisha.
If you come with froggy energy, you gonna get chat.
You gonna
Okay.
get that.
Lovingly.
That's really you would
Chat.
You gonna get
that's
chatty.
representative of our thoughts, but without our energy behind it.
That part. You're not getting
Because
any
we got
energy.
real lives to deal with, and we're not finna
We're
do
not
this
fooling with this
stupidity.
mess.
Yeah, but also,
Ain't
y'all,
going back and forth.
the email is definitely in the outro, but like y'all feel free to email us things. Like let us know.
Yeah.
So I know we're nearing the end of this episode, and before we like hop out of here, I just want to give a big thank you to our season 1 listeners.
Yay!
First of all, y'all held us down. Y'all gave us some valuable feedback, encouragement to keep going. And we
Yes.
just say thank you for listening. If you love what you're hearing, y'all, please like, share, subscribe, and
Share.
share. So some of y'all, I know some
Follow
of y'all
our
that shared.
Instagram,
We have
for
an
sure.
Instagram. It's all going to be in the outro. So please, y'all, help get the word out. And we thank you so much already. And at some point, we might get a little, subscription service going up because we be out here wilding in the clips that don't make it into the podcast.
If you want to hear some of that shit,
If you want to hear it, let us know.
Yeah.
I warn you, there's a lot of singing.
there's so
Actually,
much
yeah.
singing
Comment
much
if you
singing.
want to hear the outrageous shit that be going on.
Yeah.
outside of what you
Outside
did in
of-
the
and
published
sometimes,
episode.
like,
Right, and sometimes more thoughtful, provoking content.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we be shooting the shit.
Right.
Sometimes
A
I
lot
say
of
the most
times.
outlandish things
A
because I
lot
have
of
no idea that
times.
Christopher has pressed record.
A lot of times we be shooting the shit.
It's-
So,
A lot
Chris
of
is the
times.
only person that ever really knows when it starts. Christian usually catches it second because she's closer to the board. I'm just out here free balling. And I just be saying shit. Come on. Free balling.
Oh, geez.
And I'm free balling.
This
Thank
is
y'all
wild.
for listening.
Thank you for listening so much. Like I said, do all the things. And we hope you come back in 2 weeks for the next episode.
Deuces.
For the next episode.
Bye.
See ya.
What song is this? Oh, like, okay.
The next episode.
Meow, 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 meow.
All right.
I know. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Uproot Project Podcast. We hope you found fresh perspective and continue to make space for real growth. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcast. You can follow us on social media at the Uproot Project Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, or visit us at www.theuprootpodcast.com for more content. To contact us, feel free to drop us a line at hello@theuprootpodcast.com. Until next time, keep living fully, learning openly, and loving deeply. We'll see you soon.